What's up guys, Trevor Hunter here at Dirt Bike Test. We just finished up another day with the Kawasaki crew here at Washougal MX Park. We went out in the woods in the backcountry here at the motocross track and took the 2025 KX250 for a spin. This bike has got all the same changes that the motocross bike did, with the new frame, updated engine, bodywork, Showa suspension components, the full deal. Very minimal changes from the motocross bike to the off-road bike. That includes just softer suspension with revised valving and spring rates, 18-inch rear wheel, O-ring chain, and the side stand. But other than that, the bike is basically the same as the motocross bike. So very similar to the motocross bike, and a lot of the same changes that I really liked on the motocross bike were very well perceived on the off-road bike. And I'd say even a step further, they really make this off-road bike really good. Before, kind of like we said in the motocross video, the old 250F motor really lacked a lot of that bottom end power and torque, and if you weren't revving the bike, it was really hard to pick up the RPMs and make power and gain speed. Whereas now the bike has a lot more of that power down low, and in an off-road setting that's really important, where speeds are slower, you're in the rocks, the roots, you want to ride taller gears, lower RPMs to let the bike move and be a little more free. And you really don't have the ability to ride the bike with higher RPMs. So this bike, this new motor, really works well in the off-road department. Even as a West Coast off-road bike, I think it'll be a really strong contender. And certainly as you go to the East Coast and more technical conditions, that motor shines a lot. So yeah, like I said, that motor is still super smooth, but has a lot more power and torque down low, which lends itself to the off-road quite well. And move on to the suspension. This definitely feels more like an East Coast setup versus a West Coast setup, which is quite typical for a lot of these manufacturers. It's nearly impossible to really set up a stock off-road bike to work well across all the conditions. You have to go from 80-mile-an-hour high-speed desert to kind of faster motocross style Grand Prix tracks to first, second gear trees and rocks and roots. So it's really nearly impossible for a manufacturer to set up a bike perfect for off-road. But this Kawasaki, in the right conditions, worked really, really well today. When you got into the trees and the second, third gear, more flowy, two-track, single-track stuff, this bike worked really well. Soaked up the chop, soaked up the roots and the rocks really well. Not a whole lot of deflection, and didn't feel super harsh. Like I said, at the slower speeds, it felt really, really good there. And but as we got to the grass track, a little more open, really fast, high-speed chop, and then big, sharp braking bumps, almost more typical of the West Coast. The fork in particular was getting a little low in the stroke and felt harsh, but we stiffened up the suspension a few clicks on the compression front and rear, and then I also sped up the rebound one click on the fork, and that really helped just give it a little softer feel to ride higher in the stroke. You're not in quite as stiff a valving when you do that. So yeah, stiffening up the compression front and rear helped a lot with that, and it still worked well out in the woods too. So it's good to see how versatile that suspension was. And yeah, that Showa suspension was working really well today. So kudos to Kawasaki for getting a good job on that and kind of handling everything that Washougal had to offer on from the faster off-road to the tight off-road to even the motocross track. Move on to the handling. This bike handles really well. Corners a lot better than the previous bike, similar to that motocross bike. On the grass track especially, you could cut down and cut across the track and do whatever you want. But even in that high-speed chop, the bike still felt pretty stable. We didn't really have any head shake or deflection, and yeah, the bike just kind of tracked straight and was able to maneuver the bike really well. Felt super light and was receptive to weighting the pegs, and just lean angle traction was really good. And overall, very impressed with the bike today, and I'm glad we got to ride it here at Washougal because it's a lot different than what we typically could ride at home. I'd say it's probably more like what a lot of you guys watching this will be riding as you take this bike to the off-road. So it's good to see that the bike really does work well where it's intended to, and Kawasaki did a really good job. So yeah, till then, stay tuned at dirtbiketest.com for more, and we'll see you out on the trail.